From Texas.
Madam President, we are about to vote to end debate, a debate that never really began, on an amendment that is 1,200 pages, that was filed on Friday afternoon after many senators had left town, and we are now voting at 5:30 on Monday as many senators are stepping off the airplane. This is the 1,200-page amendment. We have seen this play before. It is reminiscent of Obamacare, yet another bill that we were told we've got to pass it to find out what's in it. And unfortunately, it seems there are some Republicans eager to go along with the Democrats in the mad rush to pass this bill. In the 2007 immigration debate, close to 50 amendments were considered. In this debate, only 9 have been debated. I introduced 7 substantive amendments to improve this bill. Not a single one has been considered on the floor of the Senate.
Would my colleague
Why
yield
the
for
rush?
a question?
I would happily yield, except that we have just 5 minutes left, and
I would ask unanimous consent that I be given 1 minute, both for the question and the answer.
Is there an objection?
Assuming the time does not come out of my own, I have no
So that's
objection.
part of my request. Does the gentleman deny that of those 1,000 pages, about 100 pages are new text, the rest is just the old text of the existing bill, and that every senator over a weekend should be able to read 100 pages of important legislation?
As my friend from New York knows well, the amendments are interspersed through a very complicated bill, and analyzing where waivers have been given, what the intersection is of new provisions with old provisions, is not a simple endeavor. And indeed, in this particular body, it is not unbeknownst to this body to slide something in text. And my point is very simple. What is the rush? Why are we proceeding gangbusters? And the only explanation that makes sense is there are many senators, it seems, in this body, perhaps on both sides of the aisle, that very much want a fig leaf. They want something that they can claim, we are supporting border security, when in fact this bill does not. I would suggest, Madam President, if you contrast this amendment to the amendment I introduced, you can see the difference between a bill that actually would protect border security versus something that is merely meant to tell gullible constituents that we've done something. The first and most important difference is this amendment provides legalization first, and then border security maybe at some time in the future. And Madam President, we have seen this before. In 1986, it was the same promise Congress made, and we got the legalization, we got the amnesty, and we never, ever, ever got border security. In contrast, the amendment I introduced reflects the will of the American people to have border security first, and only then the possibility of legalization. Secondly, this amendment does not require operational control of the border. Current law requires that. This amendment weakens current law on operational control. My amendment would require that the problem actually be solved. Thirdly, this amendment does not require a biometric entry-exit system. It weakens current law. Current law requires it. This amendment takes that out. Instead, it requires essentially a photo ID. Now, I would suggest, Madam President, for anyone who perhaps has known a teenager, you would know that the difficulty of securing a fake ID with a picture on it is not very high. Any flea market in the land will allow it. Fourth, this bill weakens the requirements of statutes on secure fencing. It weakens current law on border security. Fifth, this amendment is not offset. My amendment was offset, so it's brand new spending in this amendment with no offset. And sixth, this amendment has no real enforcement. The amendment I introduced said if the changes within it on border security were not implemented, within 3 years, 20% of the salary of political appointees at DHS would be reduced, 20% of the budget would be reduced, and it would be block granted to the state to fix the problem. Fundamentally, this is about political cover. It's not about solving the problem, and I would suggest the approach is one we're all familiar with. It is the approach that perhaps in childhood we knew well. It is an approach that says, I will gladly secure the border next Tuesday for legalization today. Now, if we were naive, if we had not been through 1986 together, if we had not seen Congress play this same shell game with the American people, perhaps we would fall for it. But I don't think the American people are that gullible. Everyone wants to fix our broken immigration system, but at the same time, we shouldn't be replicating mistakes of the past. This amendment and the underlying Gang of Eight bill grants immediate legalization, and the border security changes will never be implemented, and the border will not be secured. That's not a solution the American people can be proud of, and I urge this body to reject the amendment, to vote against cloture, and to reject the underlying bill. I yield the floor.